great.
Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC, our tremendous partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. I am thrilled to announce that for 5-ish minutes, this Wednesday edition is a Matturday edition. Matty Lane, Matt Hamilton. Matt Hamilton, real quick, Matty, we'll see how Matty's doing like tomorrow.
Yeah, whatever.
You have the ultimate flex right now. Would you mind?
You look great. I love your pullover, Hamilton. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Buddy, Hamilton has Lambo in the background right now.
We got Lambo.
Oh, this is so great, man.
I couldn't believe it. I just got in. Could not believe that this is my view for the next couple of days. So.
Dude,
I'm excited about that.
I love this for you, man. I'm so excited for you. It's so cool.
Yeah, this is it's shaping up to be quite an experience here. Hopefully the weather holds up over the next couple of days. It's beautiful now, but supposedly going to be a little bit of rain tomorrow and Friday.
Oh, there's no way that ends badly. Are you gonna be like under something? Are you gonna be in the covered, or what's your situation gonna be?
We will have a covering for the show at least, so can't complain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Maddie Lane, how are you doing, by the way?
I don't know what this time is here that we're doing this. This is not our normal time. It's still daylight outside right now. It is throwing off everything for me. But no, I'm generally pretty good. I'm hopping on a plane in the morning, coming out to Kansas City to see my dearest of friends as we go live for every single pick of the NFL draft, where we will be sitting here talking to you guys about it on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, and, trying to just skew everything a little bit towards the Chiefs side of things rather than what, the 28% that you get out of like real team conversations on big media networks.
So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to be doing all weekend, and we cannot wait. Hamilton, I want to know a little bit. What do you guys have planned at Up and Adams this week that you're allowed to share? What's going on with you out there? Like, what are the vibes in Green Bay? How's everything going out there?
The vibes are super high out here. Everybody's excited. And we have a big show tomorrow. We have 4 guests on the show. We have Mason Graham. We have Tyler Booker. We have Shamar Stewart.
Do you want to dunk on the last one, Kent, before he announces it? Do you just want to say any slanderous things? Oh.
And we have Will Campbell.
What? No, I'm just kidding. No,
Can he reach the microphone? I'm kidding.
No.
He's gonna. Hey,
we go.
I think there's a good chance that Will Campbell's a top 5 pick by the time this weekend is over. So, or tomorrow night. I think you could hear Will Campbell's name called in the top 5. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for you guys. In Hamilton, I know you didn't have a ton of time. We appreciate you coming on and at least officially making this a Matturday. We would not have it any other way. And the flex having Lambeau Field in the background is incredible. But before we get you out of here, I would love to get a prediction on what you think the Kansas City Chiefs will be doing in the first round of the draft. Trade up, trade back, pick at 31. What is the move? What you got, Hamilton?
This is going to be an interesting one. It seems like this could go any direction, more so than usual. It really sounds like everything's on the table. I could definitely see a trade back coming. If they do stick at 31, I'll make my prediction for that, but I do think there's a decent chance of a trade back. If they do stick at 31, I know Tuck is not going to like this. I'm going to go with Josh Simmons. I think if he's there, if they feel confident about the medicals, it makes too much sense. You get a quality player of that caliber falling into your lap there at 31. It's hard to pass up. It really is, especially with the need there. So that's my official prediction, but really excited to see how this plays out because there are going to be a lot of good options, I think, on the table.
Yeah, it's going to be a very unique draft. We can't wait to be covering it. And Hamilton, Cannot tell you how excited we are. We got a chance to have you on here for Matturdays from Lambeau Field.
Nice little matter tease.
I couldn't miss it. It felt, I didn't know how it was going to time up with my travel plans and all that, but I didn't want to miss it. After all the build up, after all the conversations we've had, I wanted to at least be able to come on for a few minutes with you guys.
Well, we appreciate you, buddy. Go have fun. Go eat some cheese curds. Go get some Carl's burgers in a little bit.
Well, I will. Appreciate you guys.
All right, that was
Later, Hamilton. Enjoy.
That was Matturdays.
That's it.
That's Matt Hamilton. Thanks, buddy.
You thought, you've heard of other shortest days of the year. This is the shortest Matturday of all time.
That really was, and that's what they call a Kent 15 right there in the business. So, all right, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We appreciate you, though. We are really excited to be talking about all things draft today. This is the day before the draft begins, and there's all kinds of buzz out there. There's all kinds of stuff that we wanted to talk a little bit about. But before we get too far gone here, Matty Lane, what's the vibe check here as things sit about 24 hours from the draft beginning? What are the vibes? What are the vibes for you right now as you see them, feel them, whatever, hear them?
Not great right now, Kent. That's what the vibes are.
Mhm.
My vibes right now are, I think that we've done a couple different exercises throughout this process. We've talked about it, that there's a chance that the board doesn't fall great for the Chiefs, and they are left not picking from bad players, but just not with the cream of the crop of the players that we want. They don't have the offensive tackles that they might want. They don't have the defensive linemen that they might want available. And there's not a clear cut, red chip player, not blue, but red chip player that had fallen to 31, right? So for some reason, I'm starting to get like this sneaking feeling that we are going to be sitting there at 31, and it's going to look a lot like what would that have been? The 2023 draft, where you're like, I don't know if I really love any of these options that are left. Obviously, Brian Branch would have been the right decision at the end of the day there, but I don't know if I love any of these options. And I just have that feeling right now yet again. And it's really difficult because you read everyone's latest mock drafts, nobody has any idea what's happening. Like everyone's mock draft is different all over the place. So it's going to be a fun draft. I don't know. My vibe right now is I think the Chiefs are going to be looking at a very unfriendly board for their needs and the talent that's available.
I have similar fears, concerns right now if I'm sitting here today. And, it could just be pre-draft jitters where, like you kind of have an idea of what you hope the team does. And then, you don't know where things wind up landing, and you're just nervous in the build up to it. Right. Like, I think that's how some of us probably feel, sitting on the outside looking in. I feel like this has been such a weird offseason too. Like, I think there was buzz and sentiment that the Chiefs wouldn't go tackle maybe early on in the process, and now it feels like there's a chance they could go tackle, right? Like some of the, I don't know if confusion, like I don't know if it's confusion. I just think it feels a lot murkier, as I sit today. If the Chiefs don't go tackle, for instance, it feels so open-ended. Like I don't know what this team tries to do. I don't know what approach they take. It feels like, if some of the defensive linemen that make sense are off the board and the tackles that make sense are off the board, and one of those positions don't fall, I'm just like very fascinated about what this team winds up doing.
And I think that's the biggest difference between where we were like a month ago when we were not thinking that any tackle was going to be available versus now. Was a month ago, you were like, oh, there's some defensive tackles we really like. There's a chance that Michael Williams, Shamar Stewart, these defensive ends that have opinions all over the place, it's not solidified where they're going to go. So like you had hope for some defensive players, I think, that might have been sliding down the board a little bit more. That you're like, oh yeah, that's not an offensive tackle, but these guys all make sense, and that's still going to be good value. Whereas now it feels like the defensive linemen in particular have started drifting back up the draft board, according to, most of the reports going on out there. And all of a sudden we hit the week of the draft and everybody's saying tackles are going to go faster than you think. Tackles are going to go earlier than you think. Tackles. Kelvin Banks is going like first overall. And like all of a sudden you start hearing all of this. It's like, oh, if defensive linemen are coming off the board and the offensive tackles are coming off the board, what are you what are you hoping falls if you're the Chiefs that makes sense? It's just there's not a lot of guys, right? Like that was your hope, is those were the positions that were going to fall. So I don't know. It's just I think you're going to get there. There's a good chance we get there to 31, and you're looking at a slot wide receiver, a change of pace running back, and a 2-gapping nose tackle are your best options. It's just like that's just a tough spot to be in, and I just don't want to be there yet again.
And we will get into some maybe uncommon names that we aren't talking enough about in round 1 yet. Like that is a direction we will kind of go, because we'll explain it a little bit later. But it does feel like there's a premium, as it should be, honestly, a premium placed on the defensive line here. And
I mean, especially in a weaker class.
The logic is very simple. Just draft the big guys when there's uncertainty. Like just draft the big guys. And I do think, with some of the names too, like Nick Emanwori, a guy that some people often project as a first-round player, doesn't seem to be getting the same kind of sizzle. The murkiness about the quarterback position, where it could be 1 or it could be 3 in the first round, depending on who you ask. A lot of questions there. And you need some of those things to swing the Chiefs' way. Receiver, I think. I'd rather see more receivers going off the board early to help maybe push a player that we like at one of those positions down the board. It just doesn't seem like that's the direction that this is starting to swing a little bit. And so the vibes aren't great, but there's still plenty of mock drafts out there that have the Chiefs and taking some defensive linemen too. And like we thought we'd just do a quick roundup of some of the most recent mock drafts that are out there for all to see. So
and real quick, a vibes is a sliding scale. I just want to say vibes is a sliding scale. Just it doesn't mean that there's not going to be a worthwhile pick, or there won't be something you will get excited about taking at 31. It's just the vibes right now today compared to 2 days ago are lower than what they were, because I just think we have seen a swing in what is expected or not expected to be there at 31. It's not inherently these are all bad players. It's just 2 days ago you asked me what the vibes were. They were going to be higher than what they are now in terms of the Chiefs getting a player that I think would make a bigger difference.
Yeah, well, and I think it's players like Banks getting a lot of love lately too, right? If Banks is going high, if Will Campbell's going 4 to the Patriots, if Membu's going 6 to the Raiders, and Banks goes 10 to 13, like now things get really interesting for where the board sits for tackle. And then we'll get to some of these players here in a little bit. It's not completely devoid of good options falling to the Kansas City Chiefs, and some of the more popular names still do exist in recent mock drafts. We can start with Matt Miller's mock as we look through some of these. Matt Miller has the Kansas City Chiefs getting defensive tackle Derek Harmon. Now, there is some buzz lately that there could be some medical stuff for Derek Harmon. That might be pushing him in, like he was outside of Peter Schrager's mock draft, for instance. But Derek Harmon, I think, would be a pick that in a vacuum, we'd all probably be pretty excited about, Matthew.
Yeah, I was muted, so I couldn't talk right away. I think the thing with Derek Harmon right now is there is a late pop on medicals. Well, late pop to us on the outside for medicals, and we don't know when that came up, right? We don't know how much NFL teams are actively having to scramble, or if they've known about this for a month. So where he sits right now is completely unknown, but I do think that is the reason all of a sudden Harmon's name was shooting up draft boards. Then you started to see it drift back down, and now we're almost back to the point where, hey, he's not even a lock in the first rounder. I think we've had a couple mocks that have come out in the past day or two that don't even have Derek Harmon in round 1. So those medicals are something that are at least impacting national media mock drafters. I don't know where the NFL is going to sit with it, but if the Chiefs pass it, is the same thing I said about Josh Simmons. They have doctors that get to see this stuff. I'm not a doctor. I don't get to see it. I am going to trust whatever their doctors say on it right now, especially here on the outside. And Derek Harmon is a player that is worth more than pick 31. So to get him in this draft class because of some kind of potentially questionable medical, I think is a good, it's good value. You take that if you're the Chiefs, and I think he gives you an awesome person to pair next to Chris Jones right away, and then also kind of take over for.
All right. Peter Schrager came out with his one and only mock draft. Love Peter Schrager, big fan of him. He's a very big advocate for the Kansas City Chiefs in the Patrick Mahomes era and all that good stuff. He does his first mock draft for ESPN, which is where he now resides for work. And he has the Kansas City Chiefs drafting Tennessee edge rusher James Pierce Jr. I was very surprised, as connected as Peter Schrager is, to be connecting the Kansas City Chiefs at pick 31 to this selection. It feels, from a fit perspective, to be a little bit, I don't know, not the most ideal fit play style. I don't know. Like, I feel like I would be very surprised if James Pierce Jr. wound up being the pick for the Chiefs at 31.
Yeah, that pick doesn't make a ton of sense to me, especially coming from somebody that generally is very connected to the Chiefs. That usually, I don't want to say they have every single pick 100% correct, not what Schrager's doing, but he has good connections to Kansas City. He is one of the guys that usually gets pretty truthful information. So to see him come out with a James Pearson, I'm not saying he is guaranteeing that's the pick. I'm not saying that you need to look more into it than this is just a mock draft, right? But it's noticeable. And he's another player that is very anti-Steve Spagnuolo. I don't think he's a good run defender. He's a stand-up, for the most part, speed rusher who kind of has one pitch, right? And like, that's just not something the Chiefs have gone for. Even if you think back to Felix, he was a little bit more of a physical player than I think James Pierce is, and he wasn't a one-pitch rusher. I think he still needs a lot of work as a pass rusher. Pierce is a better collegiate pass rusher than him, but Felix had other options. There was a little bit more inside counter. There's a little bit more of a pass rush like repertoire, whereas Pierce, it's, hey, did I beat you off the line? Yes or no? And that kind of determines how the snap goes. So it's a very unspagsy pick, especially because it's not like any of their non-spagsy edges have worked out. Uche, Felix, like any of these guys that aren't this Spags archetype haven't really got a lot of run in Kansas City. So I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me. That would be an interesting pick, to say the least.
Yeah, it would just be such a stark departure from what the Chiefs have done historically. That, you know, I'd be surprised. I would be surprised. Talented player, though. One more mock draft before we get out of here. Matty Lane's favorite person on the planet right now might be Todd McShay.
His podcast is so much fun. It is the perfect blend of absolute chaos with some, as informed takes as anybody else out there right now, right? Like, no matter if you are the biggest Todd McShay person or not, he talks to as many people doing this as anybody else. And he has his own podcast right now where he no longer works for a network. And it is the most absolute chaotic, beautiful, lovely symphony of a mess that you have ever listened to or watched. It is the perfect show.
It's insane. It's unhinged, and I love it. I've firmly, I'm on it too. And he just goes, Maddie compared it to his brain, and I think
yes. Yes, I think that's why I love it so much. Like, anytime we're not podcasting, and even when we podcast, everybody listening probably knows, I kind of bounce around all over the place, and it's trying to get out 8 billion thoughts in 32 seconds. That's why I talk so fast. But I've never felt more seen, one, listening to McShay's podcast, which is the exact same thing, but I've also never felt more normal because I can stay on task infinitely better than he can, and that rarely happens.
31, Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Quick blurb from Todd McShay. You can read the entire thing at the McShay report. But Simmons is the most talented offensive lineman in the class with outstanding foot quickness and flexibility. But he also carries immaturity concerns. So it will be Andy Reid and his staff's job to get the most out of him. I don't know if we've spoken to some of the immaturity questions, but that is something that has been out there. Outside of just, some of the medical stuff. Now, the indications are today that the medical stuff is not concerning teams. He's already out there squatting 225 pounds. So he's in a good space. He's getting better, blah, 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 blah. This feels like, and this is where the vibes come in. I'm so thrilled if the Kansas City Chiefs get Josh Simmons at pick 31. I'm geeked out. I'm excited. It's my favorite pick for the Chiefs. I feel like he's not going to be there at 31. I think if the Chiefs are going to if Banks is going off in the top 13 picks, it feels like the run on tackles starts earlier. The offensive linemen start coming off the board earlier. Do the Texans take a tackle? Are they going to take a tackle? All kinds of questions. I think the Chiefs have to move up. And I think if the Chiefs, if Josh Simmons gets into the 20s, I think the Chiefs could move up. I really do see. I really think that there is a chance that the Chiefs move up and go get Josh Simmons.
Yeah, I think they would have to. I don't think there's a real belief that he gets to them. It's weird because I don't know where you have to go to. Vibes, going back to the vibe check, I don't think Houston's in on Joshua Simmons. I don't think they're not in on tackles. I just don't know if they are hard in on Josh Simmons. They talked a lot about culture setting and having a guy that's the leader of that offensive line room. And where I don't think Joshua Simmons off-field stuff is a big deal, there's at least been mentions of some stuff that has popped up, maybe some either immaturity or just being a little different. And nobody really explained what the different was very well. And so I just don't think the Texans are interested in that. From what I've heard, they love guys like Tyler Booker. They might even like Donovan Jackson, his teammate, a little bit better. So they might even go guard over tackle if he's the guy they're looking at. So I don't know if you necessarily have to jump the Texans for Joshua Simmons, but there is a couple teams after that might also go for him. So, we're still talking about 24 is a very reasonable trade up spot. And I think everyone's going to be calling the Vikings trying to get to that spot for various reasons, just to see what it costs. But I think you have to trade up to get Josh Simmons. I don't think you can sit there at 31 and expect him to fall to you. I just don't know if I believe he's even making it to 24. If all the reports we've heard about that teams not being concerned about the knee, and they've all come out draft week, so take them for what you will, right? But all of a sudden, that's the word on the street now. If that's the case, are we sure that guy's falling to 24? I think if you can guarantee anybody that his knee isn't an issue, or not even guarantee, but to say, hey, his knee is not an issue, he doesn't get outside the top 20 at the absolute latest. So it'll be interesting, but if he is there in the early 20s, I do think if you're the Chiefs, you got to really start working the phones and see if you can get up there, because you don't want another team to jump up there and take him before you can. I just think he's that kind of talent.
So wait, what range do you think you have to get up to then, Matthew?
Oh, draft order.
So here's the thing. I'm gonna do it because I will say something. All right, in the KCSN draft guide, which the link is in the description of the show, I'm telling you, it is a perfect companion for you for this entire weekend. You're gonna have 300 pages of Chiefs specific draft content to follow the draft as it relates to your favorite football team. In the draft guide, there's also a trade chart that'll let you kind of look at the. It's a Rich Hill model that basically lets you look at how draft trades can be compiled and how the math might make sense based on the draft capital that the Kansas City Chiefs have. That's my pitch. Link is in the description of the show, and you get 3 months to KCSN's premium newsletter. Picks 31 and 95 could line up pretty well with the Minnesota Vikings at pick 24. So surrendering picks 31 and 95 would make sense for the Chiefs to get up to pick 24. So
just looking at the draft order, Minnesota's a good spot because the picks from 19 to 24 till the Vikings pick, the Steelers are a little bit of a wild card there, but they're the only team in that section of teams out of the teams that made the wild card round, I guess, lost in the wild card round. From 19 to 24, the Vikings and the Steelers are the only ones that I see being major players for Josh Simmons. So if he's there at 19, I almost feel like you can roll the dice that he'll be there at 24, but you got to work the phones to make sure somebody else isn't trying to move up beforehand, right? Like you got to stay active, but it seems like 24, there's like a little bit of a lull. Now, the problem is before that, you have to get by Dallas, Miami, Atlanta is probably okay, but I think that their left tackle now is getting a little bit older. Arizona, Seattle.
I think Arizona's the pivot point. I think if the Cardinals... if the Cardinals go tackle, it could be Josh Simmons, first off. If they don't go tackle, I feel like there's a decent chance the Chiefs will be able to secure him. Now, I still think they got to go trade up. Honestly, I still would. I don't think I'd risk it, especially if you've got the Minnesota Vikings willing to trade with you. One of the few teams that might actually be willing to trade with you, I'd go move up.
So you're not going higher than 24, right?
I'm just saying, even if he gets past Arizona, you feel good. But I think I'd try to be aggressive to try, maybe even move up a little bit farther. I mean, pick 76 gets you all the way up to Denver's not going to do it. You might be able to, pick 66 and 31 might get you up to Tampa. Roughly.
Yeah. So if Giad Campbell and I don't know who else they want, but if it's like the bunch of defensive linemen they don't love are off the board, would you offer up 66 and 31 to go take Josh Simmons at 19?
If I felt I had to, yes. If I thought Washington, Detroit, Baltimore, the Rams were going to move up, I think I would. I think I would. So yeah, there's some scenarios you can play out. You can do your own math with your KCSN draft guide. You can check the draft trade chart that is in the book. Links in the description of the show. You still have time, folks, to get that book. And we are out of time for the first half of the show. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
With the 31st pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select.
Let's go!
Xavier Worthy coming to the Chiefs in round 1 makes the absolute most sense one could imagine.
As soon as I saw the body type and the way he moves, I'm like, I've seen this too often. Like, I'm just moving away from it. That's why I'd prefer the guys like Xavier Worthy, because you know they're going to be open.
How can this team navigate the board to walk away with great value at wide receiver and at tackle?
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner impossible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Are you ready to win some real cash during the basketball playoffs? Well, check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition, and yeah, that includes prize picks. Hit all of your picks and score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6, plus even more cash if you outscore the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. New players get 50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Here's what you gotta do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offers. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Maddie, I want to talk about a champagne problem that we have here in Kansas City. So the Chiefs continually are picking in the 30s, right? And
Yes.
we spend so much time during draft season saying, well, who's going to fall? Who's going to fall to the Kansas City Chiefs? We're going to try to speculate. We're going to look and see, like, oh, what good player is going to fall to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? But, and I think 2023 kind of teaches you it's not all that simple either, right? There's a chance that the players just don't fall. The board just doesn't fall the way of the Kansas City Chiefs. So we spend a lot of time focusing on what we think is plus value, the Derek Harmons, the Joshua Simmons of the world. What we don't do is really spend enough time talking about the other side of the coin. And that is maybe some of those players in the 30s and the 40s of a lot of the mock drafts that you see that are in play for the Chiefs at pick 31. And, maybe some of these other players that we don't spend enough time discussing, right? Like, I think it's probably good before the draft tomorrow to throw some names into the ring to at least, give some people some perspective on other players outside of the ones that we are most popularly talking about, like the Harmons and the Simmonses. So I figured we just spend a little time here, maybe going over some of those players that, we maybe haven't spent enough time suggesting as round 1 targets because we are so fixated on, kind of that sweet spot we expect when it could be a little bit out of left field, not out, or, like Felix Anudike-Uzomah. as a, I think we had him somewhere in the 40s in the KCSN draft guide. It's not out of the realm of possibility to see players in the 40s that we see being drafted by the Chiefs in round 1. So thought we'd just give ourselves a little bit of time to talk about that. Do you have one off the top that you want to talk about? And maybe an uncommon round 1 target for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, here's what I was going to do, because you had said, you had mentioned where we had Felix listed. I was going to the consensus board here, and I was going to go pick somebody in the 40s. And hey, look, the first name that is at 40 is Travion Henderson, running back out of Ohio State. So this works out well. Yeah, running back in round 1, huh? We had done this before as Chiefs fans, and I am not one to be scared off, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a hip injury that completely changed how he had to move, and it resulted in not a lot of a huge major impact to like his career, him having a big impact for the Chiefs. Henderson's an entirely different type of player. I understand from a skill set he very much fits what the Chiefs have. I understand that a good pass protecting, receiving, home run threat at running back is probably going to get drafted higher and carve out a pretty reliable role in the NFL. So like, there's no arguments against that. And I could see the Chiefs being there at 31 saying, I don't know if we love any of these guys. Who is the safest player to make an impact? And I can see how you can make the case that a running back that is a great pass protector, a good receiver, and provides a dynamic home run threat is that guy. My only hesitation from being able to jump all in on that, the last time the Chiefs went running back in round 1 and I was okay with it, the team was pretty good. It was like set. There wasn't holes. They were drafting the final piece. They were drafting the cherry on top of their dessert. Right now, I don't know if I love the base that they're working with. I think they have more holes than they did the last time they did this. So this doesn't feel like the right time for me to go running back in round 1, but I can hear the argument that like that type of running back is a relatively safe transition to this offense and to a team in the NFL.
And if you do not know the news, on top of all of that, the Chiefs held a virtual meeting with Travion Henderson yesterday. In that meeting was a guy named Andy Reid. So definitely worth paying attention. It could be real, and I think it could be real. It also could be posturing, right? Because a team trying to get into the back end of the first round to secure a running back. Maybe Brett Veach knows his buddy Ryan Poles, and that staff really wants to get Travion Henderson, and maybe he's trying to manufacture some trades up there. Who knows? It could be two sides of the coin there, but I'll throw a name out. We spent a lot of time talking about offensive tackle, but specifically more like a Josh Simmons. And we've thrown Josh Carnley's name out there a little bit here because, well, we mock draft him on Monday. There's one player that we have not spent a ton of time talking about that has the arm length to be an offensive tackle, that put together really good offensive tackle tape all the way from the back end of the season in the Big Ten to the playoffs. Donovan Jackson, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State, the guy that replaced Josh Simmons when Simmons got hurt. I think my stance has been, I feel like the Chiefs are willing to take value falling. And I feel like a Josh Simmons move is probably not as much value fall. I mean, it's value falling, but it's also very intentional about a specific player. What if they really are just in on fix and tackle in a bigger way than we think? And it's not just like, oh, it's, maybe somebody like a Simmons or, Simmons or a Connerly. Maybe they're more intentional than we think about fixing tackle and being aggressive to draft tackle. And if that's the case, and let's say a Connerly's gone, let's say a Simmons is gone, Donovan Jackson can play tackle. He looked good at tackle. I like him at tackle. He reminds me of a Chiefs tackle, the way he plays. Maybe that's not one that we've spent enough time talking about or throwing out there or positing, because I think we've kind of felt like it's BPA position of need. This may not be perceived BPA position of need, but it's a player that I would be totally excited about the Chiefs taking at 31 if that's the course that they want to set.
Well, early in the process, like when we first started talking draft again after the season, he was one of the first guys that we talked about. And we set up as like, hey, I think this guy can play tackle. I said back then, I still believe it. I think I think that he looks better at tackle than he does at guard. And I think everybody's brain automatically says, oh, he struggled against Abdul Carter in his very first game playing offensive tackle. And they used that for like his weaknesses or deficiencies at tackle, but didn't give it a realistic chance or a true chance as it got into the playoff and he got more comfortable. I think he can play tackle. I think a team should draft him in tackle. I think the way he moves is the opposite of Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks moves like a guard. The way he wins is how guards move and win. The way Donovan Jackson wins is how tackles move and win. It doesn't mean that that's what they're going to play. It's just if you were going to compare them to the norm, to like what you were actively looking for, the way Donovan Jackson moves, especially out in space, when he can operate, when things, you have to process them a little bit slower. It's a little bit more about mirroring. It's about the timing and everything in space rather than quick reactions working back and forth. That's where he's at his best. So I like Donovan Jackson at tackle. He fits very much what the Chiefs like from a size profile at the position. He's a lot closer to build wise and like where he wins to the same way as like a Orlando Brown Jr., who they were a big fan of, or even like guys that have body types like a Wanye Morris or even a Lucas Niang. Like you look at some of the body types, he fits that body type and even just the way he's built, right? And so I like that pick for the Chiefs if they want to go that route, and maybe they've done a really good job hiding it.
Well, let me just add something else too here. This is like the one scenario where I'm a little bit okay with the Chiefs potentially getting in the way of Kingsley Suamataia playing guard in this next season. Like the Donovan Jackson has the potential to be a best 5 type player, right? Where it's, he can play guard at a high level. He can play tackle. He might be able to play right tackle. He's got that versatility where he could be a best 5 guy for you. He helps fill in the gaps a little bit from a holistic perspective on your offensive line. Obviously, the hope would be, hey, he just comes in, he plays left tackle, right? And he's just, he's pretty good. He's better than Jalen Moore who wins a battle. And it's worth every penny if you solve your left tackle position. But, there's other fallbacks and there's more flexibility to Donovan Jackson than maybe some other, some of these other options here, right? So I think there's a variety of ways you can leverage and utilize him. Okay. You have any more intrusive you have any more uncommon round one names, or you want to get into intrusive thoughts?
I mean, listen, there's a bunch of uncommon. I can just start reading off names and they're all uncommon, right? The big one I want to say is like corner. I get it. There's a chance that there's like you can make a case that a corner available at 31 is your best player available. Just for me, from my standpoint, where I look at it, the improvement from Jalen Watson or Christian Fulton to any of these corners that we're talking about, Trey Amos, AZ Thomas, pick your person at corner there, isn't big enough to matter enough in the long term to me at this spot. I understand that even if you don't bring back Watson next year, you need a corner, or it's just Fulton, McDuffie, and back to where you kind of were trying to figure out corner 3. I understand if you bring Watson back, Fulton's only got 2 years. Like, I understand the future outlook of saying the Chiefs need a corner. I'm not arguing that. My pushback is, I don't think that Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, and Christian Fulton as a unit is like something that I'm looking at saying, oh, if we can just get a little bit better than that in the future, like if that's going to matter. If I look back to the Super Bowl last year or any of the times the Chiefs really struggled, it wasn't with McDuffie and Watson, just those 2 corners healthy. It was when they were ravaged by injuries and it was just Trent McDuffie. So the cornerback one to me, I would get it. I would understand it. It's just, I think you were making the smallest amount of improvement on a position group that I don't think is a weakness like a lot of the others.
Matty Lane, we're going to close this show out with some intrusive thoughts. This is a segment that you've generated. This is a segment that you started. Why don't you kind of set the premise for everybody and then let them get involved in the private chat if you want, or in the group chat if you want.
Okay, so intrusive thoughts. Realistically, everybody's got these thoughts that fly through their head, and then like when they come through your head, you ponder on it and decide if you like believe it with conviction or not, right? You're like, and a lot of them get weeded out. You're like, I don't know if I actually believe that, but it did cross my mind. And that's an intrusive thought. This is just the idea, like, hey, some thought that you've had maybe once, maybe twice, that you don't know if you fully believe, but it's something that keeps creeping up in the back of your mind that you want to get off your chest, and you can't be held accountable for this because you're not putting your stamp of approval on it. You're just saying this crosses your mind, and there's a chance here. So this is just our way to get off kind of hot takes without you guys holding our feet to the fire about it. Really, that's what this is.
And we won't hold your feet to the fire for anything that you put in the live chat here. So there's also that as well. We might make fun of it a little bit, but no, just kidding. I'm gonna stay very.
This isn't a major intrusive thought. This is actually a real thought, but like we're at a point of the show where I want to get this off because it's the final show here. I think the Chiefs are going to draft a tackle in round 1. Now, is that offensive or defensive? Don't know yet, but it's going to be a tackle. It's going to be a person that plays tackle. I'm limiting it to 2 positions that I 100% believe they're going to draft in round 1. I think if I were to stack it on who I think they want, it's Josh Simmons. I would say Walter Nolan. I would say Josh Connerly, and then I'll put Derek Harmon as the 4th one. Now, we talked about Derek Harmon earlier, so I don't want to linger here. But during the show, we got the anonymous scout text, right? The ever elusive anonymous scout text about Derek Harmon and the injury concerns. Apparently, it was known for a while by NFL teams. It's just media just found out about it because they've had their official media interviews recently. So it has just become known to the media, but teams have known about it for a while. And according to anonymous scout via text, it is more yellow than red. So do with that what you will. I don't think that Derek Harmon's injury is something long-term, according to, this one anonymous scout, that it is something long-term the team should be worried about.
It's like a lookout more than it is like, hey, big problem. It's more of a, there's some concern here, which I'm sure there's plenty of players that kind of fit in that mold rather than just a stay away. I don't think the Chiefs are picking at 31. I'll say that. I don't think they're picking at 31. I think they move up or back. If I were betting man today, I'd say they're moving up. I don't think that they're just going to stand pat. I think whatever they decide to do, I feel like they're going to there's going to be some movement here. I would bet on moving up. I think it's for, someone says no one loves a good trade up like Kent. I'm actually not even sure that's true. I've been more trade back than Maddie has historically. I've been more team trade back.
I love a good trade up. What are we talking about?
He's the trade up king.
Listen, Veach's track record in round 1, we're trending in the right direction, baby. We're going the right way with these trade ups now. Okay, what do you want to stick and pick like in 2023?
He couldn't even sit on his hands to get Worthy and Kingsley last year.
Yeah, my guy had to go move for those. One of them worked.
I think they're moving. And hey, Jack, every draft, he says every draft, Kent starts around pick 19. We get okay, here's where we could trade up. Yeah, I like to keep people prepared on
Can I defend King? He's never hammered that the Chiefs should trade up that far. He just loves to do draft math.
I do.
He just loves to stare at that chart and do a bunch of random whiteboard calculations. And once he has them, he wants to inform you guys of what it would cost to get to every single pick from like pick 11 on. That's not him saying they should trade up there. This is what he likes to do. Like some people like to do word searches. Some people like to do puzzles. Kent just likes to stare at Rich Hill's draft trade value chart.
I like all 3 of those things. Intrusive thought from Seamus Levin. Josh Briscoe is going to be upset Friday night and will have to get it off his chest on Saturday. That means that the Chiefs are taking a running back in the first 103 picks, Matthew.
God, I wish he was on camera for that.
I do too. I
got one more intrusive thought.
I don't think he'll be on camera when the Chiefs take a running back. I will say that. He will be hanging out with us on Saturday. And by the way, literally, guys, the only place that you will find Chiefs-specific coverage for the entirety of the 2025 NFL Draft is KC Sports Network. The only place that you are going to find every single pick of this draft being covered through the lens of the Chiefs is right here. So if you want Chiefs-specific draft content for the entirety of the draft, come to KC Sports Network, check out our YouTube channel, a live show all 3 days. It's going to be so much fun. Come hang out. Anyways, what's your intrusive thought?
Yeah, sometime in the first 3 picks of this draft, their first 3 picks of this draft, the Chiefs are going to take a pick that upsets you or I greatly.
Yes.
It's going to be one of the first. So one of those picks, I mean, maybe they trade so they don't actually pick at like 62, 66, but I think in this draft, they're going to take a pick that upsets us quite a bit. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm hoping it's not in round 1, but the way the board seems to break, round 1 seems more likely than round 2 or the beginning of round 3 based on just like the player pools that are usually there. So I don't think this is going to be one of those where we're like, oh, we kind of understand every pick. I think they're going to make a pick in one of their first 3 that we are just head scratching about it. Such as Josh Farmer.
Pick 31 says young Zach.
Any of the picks I just said, that's a frustrating one. So
yeah, I mean, Carson
Norman
Schlesinger at pick 31, the linebacker out of UCLA.
Not upset though. See, I'm not upset with that. I would get it. I don't love it, but I would get it. I mean, it's one that's going to upset us.
So, all right, one of us. So Savone Ravel Jr. at pick 31.
Yeah, not a huge fan of a small school corner that needed a little bit of time to break out, that is currently injured, that's not also super young. Yes, that would not be my most favorited pick. Yes, that would be
Joshua Farmer, the Florida State defensive tackle at pick 66.
Correct. Yes, that would be another.
These are mostly me, actually. In that scenario.
Mostly because these are me. I don't think you'll get mad about too many picks because, like, for somebody that's a really harsh grader, you generally like everybody once it comes time for the Chiefs to take them. Whereas I think I'm a lot stricter about the players that I want my team to take versus how I grade them.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. Like the things that would upset me, like I think interior offensive linemen in the first 3 picks.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be frustrating.
That would be irritating.
Love for some interior offensive linemen from the Chiefs out there too, beyond just being mocked to them.
Tyler Booker, I love Tyler Booker, but pick 31.
That's not an Andy pick though.
Not an Andy pick.
If the Chiefs were going to go interior offensive line, they would take Donovan Jackson or they would take Gray Zabel. Like that would be the interior offensive lineman if available. If the Chiefs took one, that's who it would be in round 1. I feel pretty confident in saying that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other big ones. Like Nick Emanwari at pick 31.
Frustrating.
Frustrating. That one would be one of my least favorite scenarios in this entire draft. So, all right. Before we get out of here, call your shot. What's happening? We made Hamilton.
Josh Simmons in a trade up. I'm sitting here. I actually got to go. I got to go write some of others. Josh Simmons in a trade up is.
Oh, you did.
Oh no, I got to put in my prediction for the KCSN like collaborative thing. I haven't done it. Okay, I haven't sent mine in yet. Josh Simmons in a trade up is me. If I had to call a shot, I already said earlier. I mean, I did believe this. I put it in the intrusive thoughts. I think it's going to be a tackle. So like, if I can't be that broad and I have to pick a specific thing, I think it will be a trade up for Josh Simmons. And like, the Vikings make the most sense. I could see maybe working something with the Rams if the Vikings were being a little bit too stingy with what they wanted back, maybe trying to figure out something with the Rams just to jump up a couple spots to make sure nobody else did it. So yeah, I just think somewhere in that 24 to 26 range, you trade up and you go draft Josh Simmons.
Same. I think it's Josh Simmons in a trade up. That's what I think. Not sourced, just think. So it does feel that there's a lot of connections between the Chiefs and Simmons that exist just when you look at the landscape of mock drafts and intel. It feels right.
Oh, and final thing, because I do want to get out of here too. But we say every year, Daniel Jeremiah, pay attention to what he does, because maybe not the player is always correct, but he is very good at getting the position correct, especially if he locks in on the same position numerous times throughout his 4 versions of a mock draft. Well, once again, I think this makes him a perfect 4 for 4 on the offensive line. Or no, I think he did 1 defensive end and then 3 offensive tackles for the Chiefs in his mock. His latest mock draft had them taking Josh Connerly out of Oregon with Josh Simmons available. But that is 3 times in his mock drafts that he has put the Chiefs offensive tackle. I'm not saying it's Connerly. I'm not saying it's any particular person. Just DJ is pretty good at getting the Chiefs drafted position correct in his mock drafts. And so being 3 in a row, I think that is noteworthy that, the Chiefs might be doing a little bit more extensive work at tackles than we as fans may have thought a couple weeks ago.
Sounds good. I'd be cool with that too. I mean, that's where we went with our mock draft when we did this earlier in the week. That's going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We catch you later. And I'm not going to let Maddie say anything else. Go to the mic.
Sounds good. Sounds good.